Back when I made it in show business, the first thing I did was buy my dad a new Cadillac. I got my dad the Italian Cadillac, white with the red velour upholstery. It looks like Elvis's coffin inside. My mother was so embarrassed to ride in that car because I remember pulling up to a light and my dad is in one lane and there's somebody else in the other lane, and my mother notices the people looking at the Cadillac, you know. My mother puts the window down and says to them, "We're not really Cadillac people. Our son got us this." And of course this infuriates my dad. "Of course we're Cadillac! We're driving a Cadillac! Of course we're Cadillac people!" And then they'd be yelling at each other, and then the people would get scared and drive away. Kind of need a tugboat to change lanes in this thing, but here we go. Oh! Welcome to an episode with Jay Leno's Garage, the car featuring today my 1957 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. Let me tell you a story how I acquired this car. I got a letter from a gentleman named Edmund Tusack. He's an old Marine, you know, the greatest generation, one of those guys. Guadalcanal veteran, pretty impressive. In fact, he was even invited by President Clinton to go to the anniversary of D-Day in 1994, the 50th anniversary, because he was a genuine hero, as almost everybody in that war was. Anyway, a nice old boy, and he lived in a trailer park not far from here. And I think he bought this car new. I got the pink slip going way back to 57. And I think he drove it his whole life, and like a lot of us, you get to be a certain age, they take your license away, you gotta stop driving, you know, war hero or not. You know, reality is reality. But he wanted to go to somebody who'd take care of it, so I drove out to look at it. And you know, a lot of times when you're dealing with older folks like this and they say things to you, you're not quite sure if there's some problem there, you know. So I said, "Well, before you give it to me, isn't there somebody in your family that you would want?" "No, I want you to have the car." I said, "Well, okay, I don't want to take it away." "Well, why not?" You know, I think one of those guys, you know, gets annoyed real quick. I said, "Okay, I'll tell you what, I'll call you back in 3 weeks, okay? And if you still want to give it to me, I'd be honored to do it. I'd fix it." All right, I'll call you in 3 weeks. I call him up. "Hey, I'm calling you up. Are you going to take it or not?" "Yeah, yes, Ed, I'm going to, yeah, I'd love to take it. Thank you, Ed. You know, why'd you take it 3 weeks ago?" I said, "Well, I just wanted to make sure we just went." Well, you get the idea. Anyway, kind of a funny story. Anyway, just one of those irascible sort of characters, you know. He didn't really talk about what he did in the war very much, like a lot of guys in that era. But when I got to know him, got to be friendly, he showed me the picture of him with President Clinton and some of the, you know, some of the medals he'd won, the awards. It's just nice. It's just nice to carry it on. So I just put his name out there in honor of just all those veterans. There's not many of them left, you know. Not that long ago, we were losing 1,500 a day just through attrition and old age or whatever. And pretty soon there'll be a time when there aren't any left. So if you got one in your family, you know, God bless them. Thank you very much for your service. We appreciate it. And yeah, throw them a little love if you get a chance. But okay, let's get back to the car. It was a horrible tan color. He had the upholstery done kind of on the cheap. I think he bought the car new because I got the original pink slip. It wasn't too rough. It ran, but barely. It barely ran. It had been neglected for a long time. You're getting a lot of rust in the lower quarter panel. A lot of the trim here was broken off. He would bump into things when he parked it and drove it as he got older, you know. So it was kind of dilapidated, and it just sort of sat in the back here. And one day I just went to look at it for the first time in a while. I'm like, you know, this is a Coupe de Ville. It's got the electric windows. He had this vinyl upholstery in it that he had done on the cheap. I think he took it down to Tijuana, and for a couple of $100 they did it for him. And it looked okay, but not great. I mean, it was just kind of in rough shape. So I said, let's put it back to what it should be. And this is a Ferrari color, actually. We had a Ferrari here, and I love the blue. I found out the paint code, and that's what we did this in. I didn't want to make it a hot rod. What we did was we rebuilt the original engine. This is a 365 cubic inch engine with 300 horsepower, which is pretty good back in the day. It looks like a big heavy car, but it's probably not as heavy as you think, because there's no steel door guard beams or collapsible steering column or any of those safety features, which weigh a lot. So It's probably 3,800, maybe 4,100 pounds, something like that. And not crazy. We put modern air conditioning in it. The original one had Freon. You can't get that anymore. We went to Vintage Air. They're just a great company. We use them for everything. And they make you so you can hook up the original controls. You know, they're mechanical, but you can hook it up so it looks mechanical here, but it's electronic under the dash. And it really turned out terrific. They do a nice job. Here, let me open the hood and I'll show you what we're talking about. We pulled the engine out to redo it, of course. We painted the Vintage air compressor the same blue as the block, so it would look original. It's not. You know, what I wanted to do with this car was make it something I could drive every day, especially in the summer in California. It gets to be 110 here in the valley. These had a tendency to overheat, and it did overheat when we first got it back together. We started to figure out what we could do to keep them overheating. We found a guy named the Dutchman up in Oregon, a guy named Wade. He does a beautiful job. He builds these custom water pumps that are just fantastic, extremely efficient. So he rebuilt that for us. We changed this brace that was here, put in a much larger radiator, got rid of the mechanical fan off the belts and put electric fans on it. And now she runs 180 degrees no matter what the temperature is. It really works out good. The only thing that's not original, well, it's air cleaners now, it's an aftermarket, but it looks like the 1955 air cleaner. And underneath this air cleaner, we replaced the original carburetor with an Edelbrock 1406, which it just works great, just works great. Oh, we put an electric fuel pump in it too, but other than that, it's pretty stock. And we put a GM 400R transmission in it with the overdrive, which is an automatic. Again, it's a cruiser, but you know, it's got plenty of power. I'm surprised at how quick it is and how much fun it is to drive. It's a big, comfortable car. This is when the name Cadillac, oh, that was Cadillac, you know. Cadillac outsold Lincoln and Packard and Chrysler with the Imperial like 5 to 1, all of those. Those guys sold maybe 18, 20,000 a year. Cadillac sold 125,000 a year. The Cadillac was the car in America. You know, my dad used to say, Cadillacs are Rolls-Royce automobiles. I go, Pop, Rolls-Royce is the Rolls-Royce automobiles. He never quite got that, but anyway, you get the idea. So that's basically what it is. You see, nice installation. We wanted it to look stock. You notice the battery is not here because with the air conditioner and the improved air conditioning, the compressor unit rather, and the air conditioning, we moved that to the trunk. A little better weight distribution, and it keeps it a little cleaner, not quite as crowded in here. But everything else, that's the original power steering pump and all of that, original generator. We took the generator, we converted the internals to an alternator. So it looks like a generator, but it's an alternator, so it puts out more than enough power to run all the accessories, you know, the air conditioner and the electric windows and all that other stuff. Yeah, as you can see, new padding under here. We pretty much went through the whole car. This was just going to be a quickie restoration. And well, you know, you do the paint. Chrome doesn't look, all right, let's do the chrome. Let's get the new rubber here. You know, so you know how it is. You know, you sort of, it's like doing sideburns and the next thing you know, you got no hair. Yeah. But anyway, it wasn't a resto mod. We didn't want that. We just wanted to be exactly what it was, just a little bit updated. A little better mileage because of the overdrive transmission. Actually, the stock brakes are okay. I mean, I don't do panic stops on a regular basis with this thing. We could have done the discs, but I just wanted to keep the original wheel covers, original tire size, all of that. The interior, we went back to, we looked at the catalog from '57 to see what they had with blue, and this is exactly what the factory had. There are a number of places that make this, these retro interiors, and they do a wonderful job. Well, here, take a look, I'll show you. I used to like the ads for these back in the day. Join us now as we enter the world of Cadillac. Yes, the spacious interior. And look how much room is in this thing. If you want to fight with your passenger, you really have to slide across to punch him in the face. You see, it's actually, it prevents family fights. You've got enough room so you can Look how big, it's huge in here. You had this is the, this would, what they call it? Something I, but what it did was, when it saw high beams, it would lower your high beams. So it automatically, I mean, all cars do it now, but that was like a big deal back in the day. Had electric windows, a lot of chrome in the dash, big horn ring, big steering wheel. Now you'll notice my transmission looks different than stock because we put in a modern 400R in this with park reverse. And the original Cadillac reverse was down here at the bottom. I think it had a park. The earlier years didn't, but as I remember. So we took that to put that interface in there and get those to make it look sort of period correct. We have all the original controls for air conditioning, and using all the stuff we got from Vintage Air, we're able to have the controls work exactly as they should, but now they're electronic rather than mechanical, but it all appears as it did back in the day. The big speaker down there for the radio. These are your knobs for the radio. You know, it's so funny, when I drive modern cars now, do you wish to change the station? Yes. How much do you want to change it? Very much. Would you make this change again? Yes, I would. Back in the old days, you just press the button, you reach over, you don't have to look at it. You know, modern radios, you got to look at it. What am I? Ah! You know, then you run into something. But this is so simple and clean. You pull this out and it lowers the antenna. You push the knob in and it raises the antenna. This is volume control here. A nice big glove box in here. Even have the original book. Your new 1957 Cadillac. Yes. Look at that. That's pretty cool. Look at all the stuff in there. You know, your warranty, there you go. And I even got the original pink slip from this car. These are you got a lighter here and another ashtray here. The only thing, everybody has an ashtray in these Cadillacs. People got, they'd be smoking like that driving this stuff. Here's your electric windows. Here's your headlights. Power brake. Here are your vents up here for your air conditioning. Air conditioning was a huge deal back in the 50s and 60s. It was usually almost a third of the price of the car. It was a huge, it's probably the most expensive option you could get. If a car was like $3,000, air conditioning was $600 to $800. And it was pretty effective too. We did it in the sort of brocade that was very popular back in the day. And you got your big armrest down here. We put seat belts in it, which it didn't have back in the day, because back in the day when you got in an accident, you just wanted to be thrown clear. That was the idea. You'd just be thrown clear, you know. But no, we put seat belts in it. Okay. All right. And the blue really offsets it nicely. And you know, just dashes. We've done a piece on them before. Go back and look it up, Just Dashes, a video we did. They will make you a factory perfectly fitting dashboard for almost any car, because a lot of times I go to car shows and guys have done a beautiful paint work and everything, and the dash is all cracked. They don't even know this company exists, but they sort of do it the way they did it back in the day. They've got the vacuum molds, and as you see, they did a nice job here. You know what's a real cool feature? I think this is the first year they had it, the automatic trunk. Open the glove box, press this button. You can hear the electric motor. It unlatches the trunk. You open it up. And just a huge trunk. The battery, as I said before, I moved to the back. Here's the original pink slip. Going back to the day. I won't show his address, but you get the idea. And a lot of paperwork, every oil change. There's our hero right there with President Clinton. Pretty cool. Nice to see these guys get the recognition they deserve. Now here's the cool part. I think this is the first year of the soft close trunk. I'm not sure, but you know, they all have this now, this feature, but this is, you know, 60 years ago almost. Watch. And then it pulls it and seals it. All right, let's take it for a ride. I love these massive steering wheels in these things. It just makes me laugh. You know, I was a little kid. My uncle is part owner of a place called the Green Tree Country Club in New Rochelle, New York. And I used to love to go down there on a Saturday because all the valets, which I guess they seem like grown-ups to me, but I guess they're probably all 17, 18, 19, would be parking giant cars like this. You know, and it was the 50s, so you had a lot of Cadillacs, a lot of Imperials, big Buicks, you know, pastel colors, all that kind of stuff. And it just seemed like the most exotic place in the world. Because back then, you know, American cars were really the envy of the world. I mean, sure you had Rolls Royces and a few others, but most European cars are very tiny. So, you know, small engines, whatever. These massive V8s, giant Cadillacs with air conditioning, just mind-boggling. I'm just astounded how nice this car rides. I mean, it's all stock 57 Cadillac. It's not like we made a lot of changes. As I said, we made a few, but the interior is basically what it would have been back in the day. Power steering, power brakes, all the options. Electric windows were a huge deal. Not many cars had electric windows. Certainly in the 50s, not many at all. But for a Cadillac, that was like a big deal. You know, when you bought like a Ford, like a Falcon or something, you paid like $2 for the clock. So if you didn't buy the clock, there's a big plate there. It said clock, so just to show if you weren't so cheap, that's what would have gone there. But as I said before, we set this up to be a car I could drive on the hottest or the coldest day of the year. It doesn't really get that cold in California. But in the summer, you got that blistering heat, and most 50s cars would overheat. But we wanted to make this one that wouldn't. Massive radiator, the biggest, most powerful electric fans, thermostatically controlled that we could find. And it's worked out to be great. Because this thing is just dead dependable, just unbelievable. Starts all the time, that Edelbrock carburetor, very nice. This is just a great cruiser. It looks good. You know, put it in front of a restaurant and this thing, people go, ooh, that's a Cadillac. This car was about probably a little more than $5,000 in 1957, which didn't seem like much, but in 1959, my folks paid $19,500 for our house. So you realize, oh my God, this is like a third the price of your house. You had a button on the floor that you would press that would change the radio station. That was like a huge deal back in the day, another one of those options. Like the massive armrest here, you just pull this thing down, it's like another whole seat. That's a real arm. You get half a dozen arms on this thing. You even can control the outside mirror from in the car. That was a real Cadillac feature. You had a Ford or Chevy, you had to reach out and move it with your hand. Ugh, how barbaric. Always been a fan of Cadillac. I've got a 1918 Cadillac and a 1925 Cadillac. You know, everybody thinks Henry Ford invented the V8, but Cadillac had the V8 from 1915 on. It just wasn't mass produced like the Ford one was. The common man could not afford a V8. You had to go to Cadillac or one of the, you know, prestige manufacturers to get that option. Cadillac's one of the few marques that was able to change their demographic, you know. I mean, Cadillacs were always perceived when I was a kid as an old man's car. But in the last couple of decades, you know, they've come out with all sorts of high performance manual stick shift Cadillacs that rival BMW and some of the other hot hatches, you know. I've got a 2012 CTS-V, and that thing's fantastic. Almost 600 horsepower, 6-speed manual gearbox. It's basically a 4-seater Corvette. It's terrific. But this is the era I really remember Cadillac really controlling the market. As I said, they would outsell all the other manufacturers combined. But I wouldn't hesitate to drive a long way in this. I wouldn't mind taking this to San Diego or even San Francisco. Very comfortable. I mean, it's pretty fast. It goes good. Kind of need a tugboat to change lanes in this thing, but here we go. Ah! You know, you put a set of radial tires on it, makes all the difference. Everybody gives you a thumbs up in this car. Cadillac was one of those marks that was attainable. You know, if you're a guy and you got your own business, you're reasonably successful, most of them aspire to own a Cadillac. Back when I made it in show business, the first thing I did was buy my dad a new Cadillac. I got my dad the Italian Cadillac, white with the red velour upholstery. It looks like Elvis's coffin inside. My mother was so embarrassed to ride in that car because I remember pulling up to a light and my dad is in one lane and there's somebody else in the other lane, and my mother notices the people looking at the Cadillac, you know. My mother puts the window down and says to them, "We're not really Cadillac people. Our son got us this." And of course, this infuriates my dad. "Of course we're Cadillac. We're driving a damn Cadillac. Of course we're Cadillac people." And then they'd be yelling at each other, and then the people would get scared and drive away. I mean, hilarious, hilarious. My dad loved that car. My dad had never owned a Cadillac. Closest my dad got was the Buick Electra 225 with the brocade upholstery, which my mother just thought that was just the height of elegance. It's a bit like commandeering a yacht. You know, he gets this big steering wheel and kind of floats along. As I said before, I remember cars, these cars, especially Cadillacs in '57, had a tendency to overheat. And what you used to be able to get from all the manufacturers, Ford, GM, Chrysler, was something called the tropical package. It included a bigger radiator, more water capacity, you know, that type of thing. Options you could get for different parts of the country. I remember they would sell a block heater, and you know, if you're in Alaska or northern Minnesota, you could plug the car in at night to keep it warm, and you would get the hot air, the tropical package. I remember it being, I think that's what Ford called it at the time. So that's essentially what we did here. Made a hugely oversized radiator, giant fans, and it's done the trick. It works great. You know, when I was in college, you could buy these for nothing, $600, $450. Now they've obviously gone back up again. But there's quite an aftermarket business for these old Cadillacs. People seem to love them, you know. I always see ads in magazines for you know, new trim pieces, whatever, and that's what we did here. I showed you those pictures before with the side trim where some of the pieces were broken off. Well, you still get a lot of that stuff. I think Ed would be happy to see what we're able to do with this car. I think he would have liked this color combination too. He was a character, interesting guy. That Edelbrock carburetor works great. We didn't get it for free. I bought it. I'm just telling you. We've always had a lot of luck with Edelbrock products. Because with the original carburetor, it would flood, and then we'd have problems. And then if it sat a long time, you'd have to crank a lot. You'd keep cranking it to get, you know, fuel into the bowl. Although it's an electric fuel pump, it still took a long time. But this is a brand new Edelbrock 1406, and yeah, works great, works great. You know, this is what we kind of call a good old girl. It's one of those cars, you can restore it, but it's not going to be worth more than the money you have into it, so it better be a car you want to enjoy, you know. And I enjoy this. I liked it. I mean, I got the car for free, so that worked out okay. And we probably put quite a few bucks in it, transmission and the painting and the chrome. Oh my God, there must be 20 grand worth of chrome in this thing. So we're not too underwater, but it doesn't matter because I'll never sell it. I like driving it. It's fun. People get a kick out of it, and I hope you did too. Hey, listen, we'll see you next week, and we'll have some more new stuff. Thanks for watching.